everyone. My name is Patrick, and this is my co-host Dave. We are from Sega Saturn SHIRO, or the SHIRO Show.
Hey.
And we are glad to be part of Gamescom 2021 talking about the Saturn. So I know we're giant fans of that. I mean, Dave, you're probably a big fan of it as well.
I'm a decent,
me, right?
yeah, I'm a decent Saturn fan.
Yeah, but today we are talking about sort of the future of the Saturn, like why you should get into the Saturn and why it's important now versus it was over 20 years ago, and how it's, turned from a lesser known device to, a futuristic, like, competing console in some cases. I know some people that only have a Saturn. It's really weird, right, Dave?
Yeah, that is weird. But there are some really diehard fans out there.
Exactly. But yeah, why don't we just get into it right now, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. So like I said, I'm Patrick and Dave from SHIRO. We formed SHIRO in about 2017 as a podcast dedicated to the Saturn, and we have about 70 plus episodes since then, including our weekly SHIRO show, which has evolved more into like a TV show. Think of like X-Play or the Screensavers, or I don't know. What shows would you kind of compare us to, Dave?
I don't know. I think we kind of do a similar thing to what Bob Retro RGB or the WAN show. We do kind of like a weekly roundup kind of thing where we talk about news. We chat up with our Discord members, and we just try to get people excited about Sega Saturn.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Towards the end of it, we'll give all our information stuff. But why don't we get right into it?
Yeah.
All right, so did you want to take this one, Dave?
Well, just talking about the history of the Sega Saturn, we know it originally released in Japan, November 22nd, 1994. I think a lot of people know about its launch in America, May 11th. You got that rushed launch, and then Sony said $299. No Saturn Day. It never came. Europe got it in July 8th, 1995. And it sold a total of 5.75 million in Japan, 1.8 million in North America, 1 million in Europe. That's for a total of 9.26 million consoles sold.
And while that might seem like a lot, I mean, compared to the N64, the N64 in total sold 32 million units compared to the staggering small number of the Saturn, which is 9.26 million.
Yeah.
Which, ouch. And then PlayStation, of course, which sold a total of 102 million consoles compared to Saturn's 9.26 million.
Yeah. But
so
that
much
means,
for that early launch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that also means that the demand for Saturn these days, as folks get into retro game collecting, is higher, right? Because there's just less supply.
Oh boy, I imagine a lot of people are familiar with the struggles of being a Saturn fan and paying all that money for Saturn games. Oh boy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's a lot of reasons for the disappointing sales in the most part. Number one, early launch to compete against the PS1, as we were talking about before with the not Saturn Day, but the pushback date on E3.
Mm-hmm.
The higher price point, which is $399 compared to Sony's $299, which they sort of talked about at the famous press conference, the famous $299.
Yeah, they undercut them by $100, which, if you throw in the memory cards and the extra controllers and all the extra stuff, it probably came out to about the same, since the Saturn had like internal save memory and you got the pack-in game and everything like that. But yeah, no, consumers just cared about like that bottom line number, and so that was a big deal.
People more willing to pay the small price up front and then more accessories make it more expensive.
Exactly.
Versus the expensive part up front. Sort of like a Voltron sort of approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Another big one is... Oh, sorry, you can go ahead.
Yeah, the poor game support in the West. We had far fewer titles actually came out here than in Japan, where, I mean, if all you knew was the Japanese library, you really wouldn't think that the Saturn was bereft of games. But if you were a US fan, unfortunately, unless you were importing, it was pretty slim pickings over here. And then what about the loss of consumer support?
Yes, there's definitely a lot of that. So I guess the loss of really consumer trust due to the commercial failure of the 32X and the Sega CD. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much I'd consider the Sega CD I guess a reasonable commercial failure, but compared to the 32X, it was a success in that end.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I know some people with Sega CDs. I don't know really anybody that had 32Xs back in the day.
Yeah, I didn't think the Sega CD wasn't really as much of a stopgap as it was like pushing the new technology, because the CD thing was really cool. But it still kind of flew under the radar a little bit in terms of like marketing. They didn't do a very good job in the West of marketing that, which is ironic because in Japan they did a great job marketing it, but people didn't care because they were all about Nintendo, in Japan during the Mega Drive era.
Exactly. It's all about that Super Nintendo.
Yeah. And then there's
Imagine what it would have been like if they did a Nintendo CD, though.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we can more than imagine. We have an idea. We have an idea, a very expensive one, but yeah, no. I mean, and then of course, poor support from Sega of America and Sega of Japan. Just fighting, going back and forth, not agreeing on anything. Sega of Japan really wanting to take those reins, take the control in regard to the Saturn. Sega of America had their time to kind of run with it and do things their way, but it really was a battle of corporate, different business axioms, just fighting. And with that much infighting, you cannot be a unified front, if you're infighting, so that's one of the things that really hurt the Saturn, as we all know, and the Dreamcast.
Exactly. It's together we stand, divided we fall.
That's right.
Quoting the famous Pink from Pink Floyd.
But
yeah,
that's
hope.
That's
why the Saturn is our future.
That's right. So why is the Saturn our future, Pat?
Why is the Saturn our future? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one is new hardware, of course, and we'll get right into that right away with the famous Pseudo Saturn Kai.
Yes.
I think both of us had this back during the early days, right?
Oh yeah. I had just a good old beige action replay, the one with the COM port on the top, and it looked kind of like the one on the left here, And I remember when Pseudo Saturn Kai came out, and you would just use the swap trick, and you would flash your own action replay to make it a Pseudo Saturn Kai. So I was all about that. Yeah, that was the day, right? And then as soon as I did that, it was like, like this whole world of this whole world of gaming opened up, and of course I had like a CD wallet, like this big fatty stacks of discs. Burn, baby, burn.
Yeah. Same here, yeah. But the Pseudo Saturn, of course, was the original fork of the Pseudo Saturn was the original fork of the Pseudo Saturn by Cafe Alpha.
Right.
Pseudo Saturn being the early version of that, and he sort of enhanced it. And basically, like Dave said, allows backup of Saturn games and original hardware, and really was one of the first plug-and-play solutions on Saturn. Just shove it in, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to install any mods, and then of course, like you said, flash onto an action replay or other like pre-made cart devices below.
Yeah, and it's come a long way. There are those ones with switchable memory banks. There's the it's come a long way, and it's gotten a lot of updates. And I think even our brother Peter Malik, our brother SHIRO, he's been inserting his own images into the the splash screen and everything like that. So that's cool. But yeah, cart devices. Speaking of cart devices, we also had the Saturn Gamers Cart. What can you tell us about that?
This is something I really want to get, but I haven't gotten it yet. I know Peter has one, right?
I believe he does. Yeah, he does have a Saturn cart. He's a Gamers Cart. He's sung the virtues of the Saturn Gamers Cart. I haven't picked one up either. Yeah.
True game, but it basically is similar to Pseudo Saturn Kai carts, but you're able to save and load saves from the Saturn onto an SD card, vice versa, and even you can play small homebrew games off of it. So it definitely is very useful, especially with games that you don't want to lose in the dreaded battery death of your Saturn.
And I mean, I think the sticking point is that you can access saves directly off of the SD card, right?
Exactly.
Where there are solutions for us with ODEs now, because of and we'll talk about it, but being able to access those saves directly in game off the SD card is definitely a win for the Saturn Gamers Cart.
Exactly. It definitely makes things a lot easier and less frustrating.
Yep.
And then, like you were saying before, the Rhea and Phoebe optical drive emulator basically was the first ODE that was released for Saturn around 2015. And it, for those who don't know, optical drive emulators basically just replace the drives of the Saturn. I think, Dave, you have one. You have, well, one later on we're mentioning, right?
I have a couple actually, but one that's my daily driver. Yeah, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you were the first one.
Yeah.
You were the guy that got the Rhea early on, and you've been rocking that for a couple years before I even got into the ODE scene. Yeah, so Pat's been using his Rhea and Phoebe. For those that could get one, it was hard to get, because again, it was like a passion project, one-man band kind of making these things as he could. Whenever they would go up for sale, they'd be wildly popular and they'd sell out like immediately. So, but that just speaks to the demand. That just speaks to like how excited folks are about getting their hands on devices like this. And of course, that demand would drive the existence of new products, of course.
Yes.
Which this is one of the ones that I got as a gift, and it's been a great. You want to talk about Terra Onion mode? Yeah, we both got it, and I first started out with it in my Saturn, and that was the cool thing about the mode, which is kind of revolutionary. Is I started out with it in my Saturn, and I was like, well, it's great. I want to see how it fits into my Dreamcast and how it works there and everything. And it's made my Dreamcast so great that I've just left it there because I found another solution for my Saturn, but I just absolutely love the mode for my Dreamcast.
Exactly, and it was released about 2020 when it was really the first major competitor to the Rhea and Phoebe we discussed before. And it could support not only SD cards but also hard disk drives and SSDs. So
that's right.
I think that's the biggest issue is the space issue where you can get SD cards for $200 that have the capacity of a SSD for maybe $100 or less for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's pretty useful. I know that me and you both use SSDs in our mode because we both have one. I think we're both having our Dreamcast though, not our Saturn, which is kind of funny.
I mean, I would probably so again, it works in the Saturn, it works in the Dreamcast, and then with a tiny little piece of additional hardware, it works in the PlayStation as well. So very versatile device, a little bit more pricey, but it's got a lot of quality of life improvements, like you said. It's got that soft reset. It's got a lot of menu options. It's got the ability to access, images and stuff like that. So it's a really great all-around device, and I do think that Pat and I are in agreement that it just seemed like it was the perfect Dreamcast device, the perfect Dreamcast ODE. It's great in the Saturn, don't get me wrong, but I think that, I prefer with the Saturn because that's my main console. I am a Saturn fan, number one. First and foremost, I like to have my CD drive available just in case. There's always that situation where you get your hands on a brand new Homebrew. You're maybe helping to test it out. You want to be able to see if it runs off of an actual CD, right? Or maybe it won't go off the ODE, and you want to be able to help debug that, or that's where I really like to have my CD drive available. So we'll talk about another option, but definitely I ended up finding a permanent forever home for my mode in my Dreamcast, same as Pat.
Yes.
Yep.
It definitely is worth the money. And then
this is an up and comer. It's been around for a while, but it's definitely up and comer in terms of like how excited I am and the rest of the scene is for this. Fenrir.
It's insane.
Yeah. Started out as a really like seemingly cheap project. Like it was very unassuming. It was a very small device. Again, it was kind of a one-man band kind of thing, like the Phoebe and Rhea, as you had said, putting this out. He's a French guy, right? From my understanding, he's a French guy, right? And he is pumping these out. Yeah. So, it started out as just like one of those like more available but cheaper alternatives to Rhea and Phoebe. And in the beginning, I think it was just an issue of compatibility being lower because it was brand new, but compatibility has gotten like right up there. And
exactly, it's I believe it's all the titles now. I need to double check. It's either 99.9% or all of them. It's one of those. And apparently a lot of the devs are starting to really favor this as well. A lot of the indie devs, which we'll bring up later on.
That's right.
And it's cheapest too.
So
right?
you don't want to talk about the game changer on this one. You want to wait?
You know what? Let's talk about it. I think the biggest one is that it can
Yeah.
actually load from Wi-Fi, right?
That's correct. Yeah, this thing has like a crazy powerful FPGA under the hood, and it's got basically a Wi-Fi module and Bluetooth module on board, like on the same system chip. And so it was there from the beginning, but he just finally got the firmware updated to take advantage of those modules. And so now folks can just download that new firmware and have like Wi-Fi compatibility with their Fenrir's.
It's crazy how far it went to like, oh, it's just this cheap little option to it's probably going to be one of the best ones. And it's, I think the most insane part is it's the cheapest too, starting out at like 80 euros, and it's only about 118 euros right now.
Yeah.
Or about maybe $134. So it's crazy.
It is a
how
dream.
far it's come.
Yeah, it's a dream device for a developer, like homebrew programmer, because I mean, again, the ability to load images from a network storage device, and then also the ability to transfer code, from your PC to the Saturn and do it that way, or just, just work on your local PC and load the images over the Wi-Fi. It's just going to be amazing,
It's amazing. It's the little ODE that could.
Exactly. So it's definitely the one that's coming up from the rear and just like taking everybody by storm for sure.
And
And
this
then
one is,
this one's
I
high
think,
profile. Yeah, this one's probably the most high profile, I think, in terms of like everyone's expectations. Satiator by Professor Abrasive.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a big one. This was announced in 2016, the now famous Sega Saturn CD cracked after 20 years that I think got passed around quite a bit back in the 16, right?
Yeah, exactly. The video, went kind of viral among the scene, and there, I think even Retro RGB Bob, he did an interview with.
Couple interviews,
is it James?
actually.
Yeah, a couple interviews, just following up over the years. He was super busy doing the parent thing, doing the the crowdfunding kind of thing. Just having to work through this thing and kind of get it to where it needed to be to release it, and finally got some manufacturing here on the West Coast and started offering them for sale.
Literally a stone's throw away from your house, too, right?
It is like an hour up the road, but it is not the
Exactly.
cheapest option.
So-
I'm gonna come right out and say it's not the cheapest option, but what it does promise is appealing and intriguing to a lot of folks, is that you don't have to open up your system. All you have to do is open up the little door on the back where you put in the battery. You just plug it into the VCD card slot.
Plug it in, plug it in.
Yeah, that's the thing for a lot of folks who are at all just worried about opening up their Saturn, unscrewing it and messing with any of the contacts or anything like that. This is one of those solutions that proves to be plug and play. It's the closest thing to a flash cart that we're ever going to get.
Exactly.
I mean, it is
And-
essentially a flash cart. Yeah.
And I think it's Dave and I's preferable way to play our Saturn stuff, because it's just so useful. It's plug it in, put it in your pocket, take it to conventions.
Yeah, and it's not
Load it
without
up.
its problems. At least it wasn't in the in the start. And I know I was one of the most vocal people with experiencing problems.
Poor Dave. His has
Yeah,
always had
well,
problems.
I worked through those, and I mean, so far, it's been smooth sailing for months. Honestly, all I can tell folks is, use FAT32. There isn't a single Saturn game that's over 4 gigs anyway. I mean, they're all split over discs, so you don't, there's no problem. But FAT32 has been the way to go for me, on the SD cards, and it's worked perfectly fine.
EHAT32 people.
And of
fat.
course, join his Discord. He has a lively and active Discord channel where folks can report bugs, and they can cite issues with certain games, compatibility issues, and he's fixing them on the fly. So he's offering really, really quick firmware updates in there, and there's also folks working out more graphic menus for this thing, so there's just a lot of options. It's definitely one of those things that's only going to get better as time goes on, because but for early adopters, I will say, we ran into some hiccups, and it was definitely not cheap. It was the most expensive device, but that's the thing. You're paying for like all that R&D that went into it for years, and then you're also paying for the fact that it's allowing you to just take it out of one Saturn, pop it into another Saturn, take it with you wherever you go. It's that you're kind of paying a premium for that mobility.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's all depends on if you think it's worth it or not.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it is, but I mean, like, if you really want something cheap just to play games, go with a Fenrir, in my opinion.
I mean, it's cheap and it's also incredibly appealing in terms of like being able to load games off of that Wi-Fi module. So yeah, if you guys are not, if you guys have no problem opening up your Saturn and, you know, getting just your hands a little dirty, it's not a hard install at all. It's very quick, very painless. I think you can do it, and it's cheaper.
We believe in you.
Yeah, we believe in you. But you know, if you like the idea of being able to, you know, not have to take your Saturn to a convention, but you know, you go to a lot of game conventions, you want to have your entire Saturn library in your pocket, like a pack of cards or whatever. You take it to a convention, you pop it into whatever demo machine is there, and you've got your entire game library there to show off or whatever, you know. So there are use cases for Satiator as well that I think, and I mean, it's been invaluable for Pat and I to be able to test a bunch of homebrew stuff like that. So both of these are the future for sure.
Exactly. And then
speaking of the future,
did you want to do this, Dave? I know
well,
you're the
we can
biggest
both
online
do.
guy.
Yeah. So X-Band. I mean, this is you know, exciting for Saturn because, you know, a lot of folks, as a part of being Saturn fans, and you know, we want to buy the peripherals, and we want to, like, you know, make sure that we're using our Saturns and maxing out its capabilities in 2021, you know, rocking it like just like it was 1995 or 96 in the case of X-Band. The truth is, you know, we're trying to get our Saturns online again. And of course, thanks to Zaiden and Sega RPG Fan over on the Dreamcast Talk forums, a couple years ago, they actually developed the exploit to get this working. These are the original Netlink modem working over VoIP using a VoIP adapter, which is voice over IP. So folks didn't need to have, you know, a $30 or $60 analog phone service just to be able to play Netlink direct dial. You know, they could go out and buy like a $15 VoIP adapter, get themselves a Netlink, and make a couple of changes in their router, and they'd be up and running, playing, being able to dial an opponent from across the country and play X-Band. And so from there, it actually went even further. Sega RPG Fan was able to patch out all of the Japanese games so that all those Japanese games that used to reach out to a central server using like a calling card, now they work the same as the Netlink, and those Japanese X-Band games can dial each other using the same X-Band code that the Netlink does. So it's really exciting. And
yeah,
Pat
I know
and I
Dave
tried
and I
it.
both use. Yeah, if you do the next slide, you can see us using it.
Yes,
dialing each other.
Absolutely. Pat just recently got his dual sticks, and we were playing some virtual on, and yeah, it was fun. Netlink is, and the future is bright for Netlink too. Calling an opponent, you got this little animation here, dialing, exchanging information.
Yeah. And this is us playing on actual hardware, dialing each other up.
Oh, there you go. Okay, you got a video in there. Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's basically what's gonna look. It would look like if you did. And this is 2021. Me and him. Kind of funny how it's each sided. I didn't intend that, but you know, happy accidents. Quoting Bob Ross.
Nice.
Got quoting Bob Ross.
Yeah. So, what's the future, Pat, of online implementation? Where did we go from here?
There's quite a bit. There's definitely a lot of options that people are working with. I know people are working with trying to use the serial ports and use the Tyson cable, the way that works to sort of get an Ethernet out and maybe connect to Ethernet like a centralized server. I know people are trying to get games back online using the same dial-up stuff, the dial-up method, the X-Band Netlink setup.
Absolutely.
So I definitely think there's a lot of options that are in the future that are headed our way, and you should definitely look forward to that, because I think the Saturn's just taking its baby steps getting online. I mean, sooner or later we're going to start walking and running full circle.
Yeah, and the reason why Pat and I are so, I guess, you know, we really want to encourage this. We really want to get people excited about the idea of playing Saturn online again, even with the old X-Band stuff, because we need to get enough people interested. You have to have a user base, right, in order to make one of these implementations worthwhile for whoever is like making the cables, right? And so we feel like if we get enough people interested across the community, we can build like a small community of folks that are dedicated to playing Saturn online and even interested in playing future homebrew online, like XL2's Hellslave with his 8-player deathmatch. We'll get into that later, but I mean, the fact is there's a lot of bright things on the horizon that could potentially use online play. And a serial to USB solution that would plug into like a Dream Pi, which is kind of like a Raspberry Pi, is dedicated to online play, or to a PC even, would really kind of help give us a lot more bandwidth for some of these games that would require more bandwidth. Because of course the original Netlink games would only support so much traffic, but yeah, the future, folks want to push the machine to new heights. They want to push it farther than they were able to do even back in the 90s. And I think they're definitely capable of doing that.
Yeah, and there's a ton of online, well, I guess a handful of games supported online for Saturn, and some that are even patched, like of course Daytona USA, stuff like that. I know we were playing Virtual On, that's a lot of fun. I got stuff Puyo Puyo, Puzzle Bobble, Saturn Bomberman.
See, that's the thing.
So many games.
Even though there's not like a ton of games, the games that are there are like some of the best games. I mean, Sega Rally, it's solid. Who doesn't like Sega Rally? I mean, that is a great game, and it's awesome to play online. You like Pat said, Daytona, Virtual On is awesome. You got you got some Duke Nukem in there, Duke Nukem 3D co-op play, or versus, so there's a lot of good stuff. Puyo Puyo, I love that, and Puzzle Bobble, those are great. There's even Shadows of the Tusk. There's some obscure stuff, but it's like a really cool isometric puzzler, kind of like puzzle strategy game. RPG-ish. I don't know. There's some great stuff. So there's some good options for online gameplay. For sure. And next.
And then, yep, fan translations. So this is something that I think everyone is really excited for and loves digging into. So basically, as everyone knows, that we said before, many titles in Japan never made it to the Saturn, and really still there's a lot of demand to this day for it, especially Princess Crown, which I think holds the record for most demands for a fan translation on the Saturn. But
that one always gets shouts, like whenever anybody is saying like who wants, what games do folks want to be translated? It's always like Princess Crown or Wachenroder, but I mean, again, like we've gotten some crazy translations that I didn't even see coming. Like, talk about it, Pat. Like, what some of your favorite games, right? Castlevania.
Yeah, well, when we go through the list, I got a whole list of the games. Yep, starting with my favorite one, actually. Next I got is Police Knots.
How did I not see that coming?
Totally not a Kojima fan. I don't know, guys. Maybe I don't know. No idea. But anyways, it was released by Junker HQ. Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. Oh man, I'm just a Kojima fanboy right now. Released by Junker HQ in 2016. I think that was right after I think it was a couple years after they released the PS1 port of it in 2009, and it's a translation of course, the famous visual novel by Hideo Kojima, which the game is essentially a buddy cop game. It's sort of like I guess the closest I think is Beverly Hills Cop in space.
That is the closest. Yeah, they definitely went for the Beverly Hills Cop, Mel Gibson kind of, the buddy cop movie in space. I mean, Kojima games were always kind of derivative. Snatcher was derivative of Blade Runner, but that was one of the things you liked about it, because it's like, we all love those movies too, just like Kojima does. We're all like super nerds, and
exactly.
Police Knots is an excellent game. It's available translated on PlayStation and Saturn. And it's just awesome game that must be experienced for sure.
Yeah, and the definitive version is definitely on Saturn.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say that anyway, but you're right. It actually is the definitive version.
Technically, yeah.
Technically as well. And also, speaking of technically, here's another game that is an absolute technical marvel, and that is Grandia. And our very own community is Trekkies Unite 118. Who he's a very active member of the community, awesome guy. I love having him in the Discord. He's always good to talk about nostalgic Saturn stuff and everything like that. And he did this amazing translation of Grandia. Took him a long time. Took him just a lot of and I mean, what a thorough beta test too, because he's just had folks testing this thing for a couple years now, and just like ironing out every tiny little thing, I mean, absolutely. And it's just a beautiful game, and now it's even more beautiful because we're able to enjoy it in our native tongue.
Exactly, native tongue of the Saturn, and I do like the box for the repro there. Whoever made that is amazing.
I know, that's cool, right?
Truthfully. Yeah.
But I cannot believe that we've got stuff like this now. You know, that we finally, you know, when we started the podcast, these are some of the things that these were on our wish list. These were our, you know, dreams to have translations of games like Grandia, and now we're living in it. And we've got Grandia, and we've also got another beautiful game, which I know is Pat, you know, one of Pat's favorite games on the Saturn.
Really good. Soccer Wars or Soccer Wars, or however you want to pronounce it. The famous dating sim / strategy game / visual novel released by Sega and Red Company in 1996.
That's right.
Yeah, Sakura Tyson.
Yes.
And the fan release was released by Noah Steam or NSteam, Trekkies Unite, and the rest of the company of the translators as well. I think CJ Urakura and a few other translators in 2019 on the release of Sakura Wars for the PS4, sort of as a consolation prize until we got that release a couple months later.
That's right. And we had the honor of interviewing them on the SHIRO on the podcast. You know, Bowl of Lentils, Crouching Mouse, CJ Irakura, and Noah Steam, and they're all great guys, and it was just and girls, and it was great talking to them about the experience of doing this project and what they're you know, some of the projects they want to work on in the future. But absolutely love Sakura Wars. Just beautiful art. It was a fantastically popular game in Japan. It's a shame that it didn't really come over to the West like it could have. I think there are enough you know, Japanophiles over here that would have loved and appreciated games like this, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But it's so wonderful that we're able to play it now. And Pat, you finished it, right?
Yeah, sure. I finished Soccer Wars on PS4.
Oh, you finished the PS4 one. Okay, but yeah, this is one that we definitely have the opportunity to play now. So we got to get on that.
I got to get on that. I gotta get good.
Oh my God! Speaking of another game that Pat absolutely loves, I know because he's got a Sega CD copy.
It's almost like I made the slides or something. It's weird, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Did you do that? Yeah, no.
Maybe, I don't know.
Tell us about Lunar, Silver Star Story.
All right, so one of my favorite RPGs of all time, bring to America by Working Designs, like them, love them or hate them. Released as a beta. I mean, it was released as a beta translation patch by Mr. Conan in 2020, and it uses the Working Designs translation for now. I don't know what their plans are for implementing the PSP translation, but they also later released the dub edition for the regular game and the MPEG version using the PSP dub.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird hodgepodge mismatch of different versions of it. And personally, I kind of they were gonna look into the Working Designs, but they messed with the lip sync. So I guess if somebody is willing to donate their time to fix it, they could probably do a Working Designs version of it.
But there's
should be kind of cool.
Possibilities are endless, and one thing we've learned from this community is that if somebody wants you know, a certain project to come to light and they have the time to dedicate to it, there are other folks out there that want the same thing, and you know, you get together, you can make stuff happen, get that synergy going, and we've seen projects come together before our own eyes. You know, this community is amazing. It really is driven by the people, by the members of the community doing cool stuff like this. So yeah, who knows?
Exactly. We'll see. And this one, I think this is your game. The one that you always wanted.
This is one of, well, I don't know if it's one of those ones that I always wanted. Again, like this, it's so exciting how things can come together in this community. It's one of those games where I was just kind of like looking through this game. Actually, let's be honest. I got a satiator, right? And I was looking for Japanese games to try out on my satiator, right? You know, so I'm looking through the Japanese library, right? And I'm like, okay, what's this game, you know? And I'm like, I made a connection that, okay, I've looked at this a couple of times before. It's like this cyberpunk, Death Mask is like this cyberpunk, very Blade Runner derivative game that was totally up my alley, except it's all in Japanese, right? And so every time I think in the past that I had looked at it, I just kind of pass it over because I was like, okay, there's no way I'm going to be able to play that and enjoy it. I'm going to be looking at a manual the whole time to try to translate, and I just don't have time for that because I'm not in my 20s anymore. So, you know, I'm thinking like, okay,
we're always in our 20s.
Then it dawned on me. Then it dawned on me that this game was also released originally on PC in English. And, come to find out, all the video files that are in English are True Motion, which was, our friend Eric Amarez, Dr. Eric Amarez, he's the guy who did that compression for the Saturn. And it turns out it's cross-platform. It's the same exact compression suite on the PC and the Saturn. So, of course, the wonderful, smart geniuses in our community, and I'll name names, Night of Dragon was one of those guys who just was like, okay, well, let's take the video files from the PC and let's see if we can just swap them into the Saturn version if it works. It worked. So then you got, people coming together. You got Shadow Mask and you got A Murder of Crows. Kay, A Murder of Crows, who's also a SHIRO. He was a ex-SHIRO on our podcast. He's been on several episodes. He, answered the call with Shadow Mask, and they got together with Night of Dragon and just made this thing happen. And they are still working on it. It's still a work in progress, but it's an exciting thing to just see it come together. And they were able to get it running and get it working. And now it's just down to like a few little things that they got to work out to get it, basically ready to release as at least a beta, but it's just another exciting translation project. Yeah. So never say never. When there's a
and I add your favorite scene to it, the famous bar one that we kept dying on.
Right, exactly. You censored it a little bit, which is good. But yeah,
just good timing on the screenshot.
It's an adult game. I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely, there are some moments in there where you're like, okay, I'm not gonna. This is a more mature game, but it's a fun one. It's definitely tongue in cheek. It's definitely derivative, but in the good ways. It's got that kind of B movie FMV thing going on. It's a blast, and quite literally. And next up is Castlevania. This game, Pat is so crazy about this game. Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
I'm a castle head.
And I
Is
too.
that what they're called?
I am too, but I'll be honest with you. Like, I came up playing this game on the PlayStation, and I might be a little ashamed to admit it, but yeah, I came up playing this game on the PlayStation, and one of the reasons why I didn't play it on the Saturn was because it wasn't translated into English. So it's like once this came out, I was just like, now I have no excuse, being the Saturn fan that I am.
Do it. But yeah, this definitely is I actually played it first on the Saturn myself before I played it anywhere else. So
nice.
I had to struggle with it. I definitely wish I did the PS1 version first.
That's dedication.
Sagata. But,
he'll forgive you.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, he'll forgive me. It was released in 2001. Or 2001. It was released by Night of Dragon on Halloween of 2021. Or no, 2020. I messed up. It's 2020. Ignore that. Halloween 2021 hasn't hit yet.
Right.
Originally released on the PlayStation, but Saturn port never got released in the United States. So there's the Japanese one, but it's really a bit laggy and has some issues with the translations and some of the menus. But it actually translates everything into English and adds a few quality of life fixes, such as the menus now being 240p, so there's no weird delay on that 480i switch.
Right.
Which is really, really, really important for people that stream the game. Sort of
that
like
was
us.
A quality of life improvement too, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I like that. That Knight and other members of the community are willing to look at solutions like that, and take the pulse of the the gamers there and say does everybody want this? Yeah, everybody would prefer the quality of life improvement over having high res menus, so they make the change, and now you guys are able to stream it with those different capture cards and no problem. I mean, it's amazing though that there are folks that are that talented that are able to just implement things like that, on the fly.
Exactly.
Translates everything into English and adds those quality of life features. Yeah. Do we want to talk about this next one?
Yeah.
Is that a video?
Yeah, we play it a little bit after we talk about it, but you're playing it right now.
Yeah, I just muted it for a second.
You probably want to turn up the volume.
Well, we can talk about it. Oh, okay, all right. So, this came together actually in the community. I think it started out as a tweet, just asking folks what games they were interested in seeing translated, and somebody, I think it was either Danthrax or Lacquerware, I forget which, if it was Greg or Dan, but I mean one of them came on Twitter and was like, I'd really love to see Bulk Slash translated, and heck, I'd be willing to work on it if somebody else would help me, because I'm not going to do it all by myself. And I mean, I think I just told him well, check out, come be a member of our Discord, and we'll ask folks in there, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of moving and shaking going on in the Discord. There's a lot of people doing cool stuff, So yeah, next thing you know, they got a team together and they're doing this translation of Bulk Slash, and they're not just, it's a detranslation, or I'm sorry, it's a dub, because they're actually recording all of the voices, and they're doing it like studio quality recordings. It's crazy. They've got a bunch of voice actors on board. It's incredible. Pat, take it from here. I mean, you've done a lot of the streaming with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is real dedication. They got actual voice actors to come in, and I mean, it sounds like it's something that's official. I mean, do you want to play the video real quick and show that off real quick?
I will.
Make sure the volume's up too.
I love that line.
Yeah. Yeah, and like these are all people that came together on Twitter. I believe it was Aaron something. I can't remember what it was. Aaron from.
It was like Edobean. It was Aaron. It was.
There was a few people.
Yeah, there's been a lot. Our own Nick like did a line at the end. He did the captain.
And there's definitely a lot of community involvement in this, and I think it's the first of its kind in the community is an actual fan dub. I know that the Shining Force 3 guys are definitely wanting to do that as well, but I definitely think this is a big step in really how big the Saturn could get. You know?
The really cool thing about this translation is how professional it comes, like the final thing that we've seen, it's incredibly professional how they're doing this, and they're kind of setting the bar for like how these things should be done. Honestly, I know No Steam, they did some, they did the trailer, they did like the voiced trailer and stuff like that, and so they had a voice actor working with them. I think it was Crouching Mouse, right? And then it's like and I think she's involved in this game, right? I think she's involved in this game.
We'll reach out later.
We'll reach out, yeah, but again, like it just kind of sets the bar even higher, and it's like, okay, I think you were saying that's a thing we do now. I guess dubs are a thing that this community does now. So it just goes to show you that the sky's the limit in terms of how involved you want to get with these things, But yeah, here's another. Okay.
Yeah. We keep hitting that by mistake.
We keep hitting that by mistake. Homebrew games and projects. This is another exciting
a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is something that we really focused on in the last year or so. Is sort of one way that fans are keeping the Saturn alive is the countless homebrew projects that they're coming out with on the Saturn, ranging really from tools to games. Like several talented developers have been working on keeping the Saturn alive, and we've been talking through over the years. And one of them being Emerald Nova, of course.
Oh yeah, Emerald Nova is like the community organizer. He's kind of led the charge, I guess, in terms of like hosting the Saturn game competition, homebrew programming competition, trying to get like a working directory of everybody through his site. Really just really encouraging people in our Discord server and also on Sega Extreme, just being this person to kind of come around and get people together and get people working together. And I really appreciate everything that he does. He's one of our Patreon supporters, so gotta shout him and gotta say thanks for everything that he's doing. Yeah,
shouts out.
Absolutely. I mean, he's offering prizes, really putting his money where his mouth is, offering incentive for these people to do these competitions. And why? Just because he wants to grow this community and have more people creating games for the Saturn, including himself. He's also you got a doctorate and he's a programmer and he makes games himself as well.
It's Dr. Emerald Nova. I probably should have fixed that.
That's right, Dr. Emerald Nova.
He didn't go to 12 years through Emerald Nova College not to be called doctor.
And we had him do an interview on our SHIRO site, so you guys can read up on his background and his design philosophies and also some of the games that he's worked on and his website. And of course, there's XL2 with Hellslave. Which started out with the Sonic game competition, the Sage, back in like 2018, I think. It was the Sonic Z-Tream project that kind of laid the groundwork for what would come, Project Z-Tream, and then of course, this Hellslave, which is very inspired by lobotomies, first-person shooters like Quake and Power Slave, and just he's going even beyond what they were able to do in the time that they were working on the Saturn.
Exactly. I mean, they have things like 4-player, 8-player multiplayer, and working on like Tyson cable. So it's crazy. And it feels like it actually was released back then. And this is a one-man wrecking crew essentially.
Exactly. I mean, he's written like his own rendering method. He's again doing that old school Saturn programming where he's writing a lot of tools himself, sharing tools with the community, and in the Discord and on Sega Extreme, doing he's been very helpful to other programmers too that want to get started. So it's not just that he's working on his own project, but it's that he's been available and helpful to get other projects going. So that's what's so great about this community, is that folks help each other. And this game is incredibly impressive. He's just getting ready to submit a new submission to Sage this year. So and to the Saturn game competition coming up. So it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and this one probably is one of my favorite homebrews, is the Cube Cat by Seven Shades. So this is just a cute platformer by Seven Shades. Involves cats and yarn essentially, and collecting balls. So basically, just gather all the yarn balls and bells together and complete the level. And you can see it's a cute. I had to actually add GIFs in here because it's just so cool, and you have to.
Oh yeah.
The pictures don't justify how cool these projects are.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, this is his first project, his first programming project on the Saturn. Started out in Joe Engine and kind of went from there. Sega graphics library. It's just crazy though, and really the story here is that it's like if you have passion for the Saturn, or you have passion for programming and you want to make a game, you could do it too. Because here's somebody who literally, this is their first project, and it's a really cohesive and fun little platformer. So yeah, Cube Cat is very exciting. I'm excited for updates on this too.
Yes, and I gotta give a shout out to John Lemon for inspiring all these people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I think he also didn't he inspire the Pony Game one for the next one too, right?
Believe so. Yeah, I think Linneman inspired with those Saturn centric videos focusing on the Saturn's performance and stuff like that. Those videos really inspired a lot of folks. I think XL too as well, who's a big fan of the Quake and the Power Slave games. Yeah, but yeah, Ponut.
Yeah, definitely. I think this one is a lot of fun, especially playing this in the competition. And it's basically just, I guess, how would you describe it? It feels more like a tech demo mashed up with a game.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how you feel?
It's not quite a game yet. It's not quite like a cohesive gaming experience, but what it is it's an insanely fun like physics demonstration, because he's got like this moon bounce going on that feels so good. Like I'm just surprised at how well it really translates. There's nothing else that I've played like it on the Saturn, and I forget what game he compared it to. There was a PC game. It was kind of like a multiplayer match PC game that he compared it to. But essentially, you've got like
Tribes, maybe.
I think it might have been Tribes. Yeah. Anyway, he has like a moon bounce thing going on, and there's definitely a physics engine under here, because there's there are several degrees to the amount of momentum you have going into a jump to get onto certain platforms, and go through these rings and collect certain items and stuff like that. So it's just it's a really fun tech demo, and what is here is a really solid foundation for more gameplay for sure. If you wanted to flesh it out with like any dialogue or any kind of like dialogue boxes that would or signs that would tell you to go certain places or do certain things. But yeah, it's an exciting game, and it's a lot of fun. And
Definitely recommend playing that.
It started out, it started out as just, again, like another Joe, messing around with Joe Engine and SGL, and then like became, ballooned into this, where it's like this whole little playground that you can run around and jump in and stuff.
Exactly. And the best part of all these games is they're free. You can go download them now and play it on either the Sega Extreme competition or anywhere. anywhere
Yeah.
that they're hosted. You can play it right now, download it for free, put it on,
Yeah.
burn it to a disc, put it on your Rhea, put it on your whatever device you have, and
Yeah.
play it.
All of these games are hosted for free through Sega Extreme for sure. So I mean, a simple Google search of Pony Game will get you there. But yeah, The Lighthouse of Sao Bento Odeste by G. Sansagolo. This guy is a member of our Discord server, and you know, he's he's an active member. You know, he talks, and also on Sega Extreme. You know, and he's been posting progress updates on some new games that he's working on. But yeah, this is a graphic novel or a visual novel. Which is another genre that's picking up steam on the Saturn. Not just with Sansagolo, but a couple other ones that I'm aware of.
Like
I think
the Mall Santa.
Yeah, the Mall Santa game, you know, which I
We
think
didn't have
everybody is
enough
excited. Everybody just
Yeah, we
wants
didn't
to
have
see
enough
where
time to
that
add
goes.
that,
Yeah.
but we'll add a link to that in the video description afterwards.
No worries, but I mean, so you know, it's not just first-person shooters or physics games or platformers, but there's also visual novels if you're into that. And there's a it seems like folks are working on several different genres of games, on the Saturn. So it's very exciting, I mean, when just a couple of years ago, we really didn't have much, we didn't have anything. And now we have like all these different genres of games being worked on.
Exactly. And it's insane. I mean, this is a first in like, 3, I think, visual novels he's working on. So
Yes.
And like this one, you can download it now and play it.
That's right. Yeah, and his upcoming games are, I believe, supposed to be done soon. He had his workflow set out, and he had basically everything in place to kind of just get it done. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to be seeing some new releases from him soon. So that's exciting. And next
I think it's the last part. Yeah.
Content creators focused on Sega Saturn. We're not talking about ourselves, are we?
No, well, that's next. But
Okay,
these are just people that we really respect, that we worked with in the past, that people that are pushing the Saturn forward. And
Absolutely.
If we left names off, it's nothing malicious. There's just so many people
Yeah.
that are in the scene now that it's just crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys are pretty high profile in terms of like their outspoken love for Saturn and the videos and the content that they've produced over the years really speaks to, I mean, it's you're guaranteed to know at least one or two of these folks on this list, starting with DF Retro, John Linneman. I mean, the guy, I think he's like the epitome of research, right? Like he really delves into like getting deep into these games with the frame rate analytics or whatever,
He breaks it down literally graphic layer by graphic layer.
Absolutely.
And that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, of course, his Quake videos are super popular. The Daytona video talking about frame rate, how important it is. Very awesome video, must watch. But one of my favorite ones that I keep going back to was his coverage of Tomb Raider. The ports of Tomb Raider, because he created this footage using like probably SSF, one of the Saturn emulators, just showing how Saturn basically with that game renders everything as flat, basically perspective warped sprites. And I mean, that thing has become a meme almost. There's a GIF online of Tomb Raider, of Lara Croft walking around, and the entire atmosphere is just a bunch of like floating sprites that haven't been perspective corrected. They're just kind of like blitting around the screen, And I always, that's my go-to to show people kind of visually and describe like how the Saturn hardware works, because you've got those really powerful SH2s doing a bunch of complex math. But of course, they're just telling the VDP1 to just draw a bunch of sprites on the screen. So his videos are very visual. They kind of break things down in a way. I really enjoy his videos and I love it. And of course, we've got Genovi, who's like a huge 32X fan and Saturn fan.
Exactly. Yeah, we got the SSG, who is literally and metaphorically our brother.
Yes, Sam is he's a busy guy, and actually he's gone through seasons of being able to work more on his content and being able to work less on it just because of his schedule. But when he does post something, it's incredibly high quality, and it's very, it's very focused on story and feel and emotion and stuff like that, so he really delves into these games, delves into the community, talking about, what it's like to be a Saturn fan, what it was like to be a Saturn fan back then and today. And I think, his channel is just 100% quality. And then, of course, Mel, Sega Lord X, he's one of, he's such a great guy, really, if you know him in person. Great guy, produces solid, excellent content. He's been producing Sega Saturn love, for years and years now. And,
he's inspired us in some ways, as well.
He's done the top 10 lists kind of things, which, people love a good top 10 list. He's also getting into reviewing individual games now, which I really like, how he's really getting into the nitty gritty parts of individual games. He's done, just some amazing videos on his channel. I'm sure everybody watching this knows who Sega Lord X is. If you haven't, for some reason, go check out his channel. I think you'll find something on there that you'll really enjoy. And then, of course, Project COE, what is it? The something of elders, right? The
Council of Elders. It's like
Council of Elders. That's right.
He-Man thing.
The He-Man thing. Yes, of course. Jared, Project COE. We interviewed Tom Kalinske with him, and he was so kind actually to invite us onto that interview. So we can't thank him enough. And of course, his content. He's been doing Saturn content probably longer than anybody on this list, honestly, for years.
I need to visit his warehouse still.
His warehouse. Of course, Stika, up and coming guy from Portugal, who is doing some amazing 32X Genesis Saturn stuff here and there. Huge Sega fan, and he's kind of giving folks a different perspective on things, from Europe and specifically from Portugal, which is a country where Saturn actually did very well. So, it's not that same narrative of Saturn's failure in the West, instead
exactly.
Portugal's still considered the West, but I mean, it did well there, so.
Exactly. And then of course, he also was on the podcast. Was it one podcast ago, the Portuguese cast?
Yeah, the Portucast. Yeah, we had
Portucast.
That's right. We had Stika, we had Roberto, and we had Nebuchadnezzar.
From Saturn Junkyard.
Nuno from the Saturn Junkyard. That was a great podcast episode. Great interview with those guys, and it was nice hearing the story of Saturn's success in Portugal, and just what it was like to grow up in that country. With a completely different view on Saturn than what we had coming up.
And of course, speaking of that, we definitely should also mention the Saturn Junkyard, who also has a sister podcast with us and makes amazing video content, especially on emulation, which is one of Nebuchadnezzar's focuses.
It is, and he does great videos on that. Really like. Yeah, absolutely. Brian, the Virtual Schlub. You got Nuno. You got Father K over on the Junkyard. They're a good group of people, very down to earth, like family. Their Facebook group, if you're a member on Facebook, it's a very fun place to hang out and post Saturn memories and stuff like that. And speaking of Saturn memories, we got Saturn Memories, who has been posting reference grade videos for Saturn over the years. I would say this guy's the reference grade Saturn content guy. If you need footage of a certain game, and you want it to be that reference quality footage, that's what he's been throwing up for years on almost any game. Doesn't discriminate. And so and he's also done commercials, ads, all sorts of stuff. Any kind of Saturn video, Saturn ephemera. Saturn Memories has covered it, and he's done it very nicely. Very nice. Yeah,
and if you need videos on anything, like if you search a game, there's a 99% chance, on the Saturn, he probably has a video of it. So definitely check out his channel if you haven't.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Andrew Rosa, Mastercast TV. I would be remiss if I didn't mention him, because this guy, I love this guy. I mean, he's got that gritty MTV aesthetic down like nobody else. Nobody's business. I mean, he is a huge Saturn fan, huge Tower of Power fan, and I'm not talking about the band. I'm talking about the 32X, the big mushroom cloud. It could be both, but yeah, no, he has that whole setup, with the I believe it's the tray load, the tray loading, and I mean, he's got that going, and he's a huge fan. I love his videos. he's one of the few guys that actually shoots everything analog, and captures like with a VCR, or he was doing that for a long time to get that aesthetic on his channel. And when the YouTube algorithm said they wanted, 60 frames per second digital and everything like that, he was just like, screw that. I'm going to do things my way. I'm going to be true to the art, be true to my vision and the aesthetic that I want to get across. And I love him for it. I think that it's great. And he also he also does horror films in his spare time. He writes and directs and films horror films, so that's cool.
For real, yeah, definitely check him out. You gotta respect the art.
Yeah,
gotta respect
definitely.
the art. All right, so I think that's that about does it for this this video. So here's some places we can find us on our website, SegaSaturnShiro.com, our YouTube, see Sega Saturn Shiro, or Twitter, Play Sega Saturn, and our Facebook, Play Sega Saturn, and of course our Saturn Facebook group where you can talk about us with Saturn, and we also have a Discord, but it can be hard to put the link in there. But if you click on one of those, you'll be able to find our Discord pretty easily.
We usually put it in the descriptions of our YouTube videos just so folks can join. But yeah, we're an inclusive community, no pretension. We want people to love the Saturn. We want people to play the Saturn, share it. We want it to be more mainstream. We would love it to be less expensive, but we're not
we can only do so much, guys. Sorry.
We can only do so much, but we just want more people to be able to share these experiences and create new experiences. And that's what we are fortunate enough to be able to do with Sega Saturn Shiro. And we also have Peter Malik, who is a staff writer on our website and also a member of our podcast. We have Ben Wallace, who's an amazing guy, also a Shiro member of our podcast. And we have Nick Broadway, or better known as Pandemonium, reviews every US Sega Saturn game.
To put his video, his channel in our thing for shouts.
I know, right? But he's a Shiro, right? So, we're being modest here. We're being modest. But you guys need to go check out Nick. You need to check out his channel. And you're going to search for Panda, spelled like the animal. Pandemonium reviews every US Sega Saturn game. He is on a mission to chronologically review every single Sega Saturn game. But here's the catch. He doesn't just do reviews. He does like mini documentaries. It's a documentary. Thoroughly well researched. Yeah, let's just
he makes documentaries in each game.
Review is a very modest way of putting it.
He's very modest about his content.
Honestly, like his dedication to research, and I mean, here's the thing: he's a journalist by trade. So truth is just telling the story truthfully and getting to the bottom of the real story. So it's like he obsesses over things like release dates. Some people, it would be good enough to say, it was April. It was like the first week of April, right? But for Nick, no, it's like he has to go into the Usenet posts, in the Wayback Machine or whatever. What have you?
He doesn't get a shovel. He gets a backhoe and he digs to below the
right.
The granite.
But then he gets a
bedrock.
tweezers, and then he's like picking grains of sand because he gives you the exact date if ever he can. If he can get down to that like exact date that a gamer is released, so that he can give you these reviews or these mini documentaries in chronological order. And so you can experience the Saturn's US library in the context of what it would have been like to be receiving this trickle of games, as we got them in the States, during 95 to 97, 98, if you want to throw that in there. Fair enough. Yeah, so we absolutely love Nick. He is a Shiro. He's a member of our podcast. And we can't shout him enough, and you guys really need to check his content out because it is yet another part of what's so great about this community.
That's a good segue to our last slide too, because this is our podcast, which he actually edited our latest one.
Yes, he did. Phenomenal job.
But yeah, you can find us on Podbean. That's our new host, SegaSaturnShiro.com.podbean.com, or just go to our website, SegaSaturnShiro.com, and it can be found on really everything: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify.
Any way you listen to podcasts.
Anywhere. It's probably going to be there. If it's not, we'll find out how to get it on there and give it to you. Mm-hmm. But and yeah, definitely check out our latest episode.
That's right. Scavenger. Mm-hmm. There was a recent sorry, we're talking over each other. I didn't know if you wanted to cover Shiro. But part. Yeah, no, we interviewed Christian Larson, co-founder of Scavenger Inc. And it was just an amazing interview. Pat and I had a blast. Christian was really, really generous with his time and really, just like couldn't be happier with how this thing came out. It really tells folks the story of Scavenger. And now this will be, you know, something folks can access and they can listen to and enjoy, and they can know like the full story of Scavenger. Hopefully we'll get in touch with some of the programmers down the line, you know, but until then we have a really good idea of, you know, Scavenger's story, their meteoric rise to fame, and also their fading into obscurity after, you know, circumstances. But we bring you topical podcasts, you know, kind of on the regular, but you know, they're split up. And then every Friday we're bringing you SHIRO show live, and then of course giving you Pat's going ahead and editing those, chopping up those topics and giving you those throughout the week, so that you have Saturn content just, you know, 24/7, right?
Exactly, little bite-sized pieces of Saturn content. You know, if you want to watch the show, you can. If you want to see it by clips, you can. If you want to watch the streams only, game streams, you can. Mm-hmm. You know, we give it to you how you want it, and then we sprinkle in a little bit of more for you.
That's right. And yeah, we just recently started monetizing. We just recently started getting Patreon subscribers, who we are so thankful to for their support. But honestly, this has been something, it's been a labor of love for Pat and I for the last 4 years. We haven't been really making any money off of this. We've just been doing this because we're friends and we love the Saturn and we love this community, and we just want it to grow more. And that's what we hope for in the years to come, is that this community will grow, and that folks will be encouraged to share Saturn, you know, with their kids, and that they'll share memories and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a bright future.
For sure. But yeah, as I said, wraps everything up. Thank you guys for taking our time and watching it. Everybody that's at Gamescom, thank you very much for watching. And everyone at home watching this on the replay on YouTube, thank you for checking it out. I don't know how long this will probably be. We might have to cut it up a little bit on the Gamescom one, but the full video will be on YouTube for later in replays. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, and see you later. And remember, you must
play Sega Saturn.
You must.